Black Ops 6 reveal trailer.
Truth is, your whole life is a lie.
You wanted peace, so we hit the war, and now it rages on in the shadows.
Behind closed doors, where we hide the world's secrets.
While we build your trust, the world falls apart around you. If you weren't so distracted, you'd realize
Nothing is what it seems. But if it's truth you seek, look in the dark.
This might be really good. Worldwide reveal June 9th. The trailers, the thing is with all of these trailers is they always crush it. Every game, their trailers are so good. But that kind of makes me feel like we're going to get a good campaign this year. Black Ops 6, Treyarch, killing it. Well, Season 4 is here and the patch notes are in. Stealing nukes finally has actually been added to the game, meaning that you can stop somebody else's nuke completion and then continue their progress to nuke the map yourself. Player counts are up to 120 players, still shy of the 150 we had back in the day, but much better. The only way you can now get Specialist bonus, which is now in the game, is 30 grand at a buy station. The Car 98K is back, and squad inventory even now shows under your player health. So a lot of quality of life updates amongst many more things that we're going to get into right now. I've gone through and already read all of this and made a ton of highlights for us to go through. The note that they made on the 120 player count in particular, when the game first came out, they said, even in the creator calls that we were on, that this was not due to limitations in the game and what they could do. It was more of a pacing decision-making specifically for the mid-game, and they're still telling us that in overall. And they also note that they've been proud with and pleased with the results that they've had so far in the game, but the community, a lot of players do want to see more action. That being said, they're not just upping the player count to 120. They are also going to be tweaking things in the game to help compensate that. And they go into more detail later, but primarily they're focusing on the redeploy mechanics. So Gulag entry tokens, the redeploy kits, you can now only get those from specific locations. Are going to be more rare to get. Flares as well are not going to be as easy to come by. They don't, even cash in the game is going to be harder to get because they don't want more people there at the end game. So I think this, I really don't know how the change is going to feel as a whole, but they're going to try and keep it essentially the same. Gulag tokens now only have a low chance to appear. They're guaranteed from most wanted and from buy stations, so you can buy these. However, it is just limited quantity at those buy stations. The redeploy tokens are now part of a legendary tier of loot. Redeploy flares are also only from legendary. I'll read where they all come from later on. This is just the overview. We've slightly reduced the amount of cash in the game as well, so that's what I was talking about. Bunkers. This is one of those places that you can get some good guaranteed loot, including some new sprint boots. That'll give you unlimited tax sprint. There's also now an alternate exit to these bunkers. If you haven't been here for the last half season, you can now find keys on the ground as well as from the most wanted contracts. Those will mark a bunker near the map that you can then use to open and get loot from. There really was not great loot from this before, and you would get yourself pinned in there. So having an alternate exit and now better loot is going to be hopefully very valuable. Some new Gulag layout changes as well, which should be good. The beginning of this season, they're also changing the way solos work. So it's going to be buyback royale. Many of you guys will remember this from the earlier version of the game. And interestingly, it is going to be $4,500 that you need in order to buy yourself back. Essentially, if you have that much cash in your pocket, when you die, you will instantly respawn, similar to redeploy. There's no Gulag in solos, on top of there being 120 player count. This is the full playlist. You'll see even on Resurgence, it is full map rotation across all four of them now, though. No longer locked to quads being Rebirth only. Ranked play is still going to be trios on Rebirth only, though, if that's what you're interested in. They also now have removed Ashika from the game. We had the last week of that last week. Overall, Warzone rewards. This is also something new. If you saw, there is a prestige like mastery camo for weapons. They're adding other rewards in the game that you can get for other ways of playing. So whether that's specifically looting, doing contracts, even talking to enemy players, which I found interesting, or aiding your own team, playing specific modes, or Champions Quest ones, which likely are going to be ones that you're countering. Maybe this is going to be rewards or options for things to do while you're on a Champions Quest, open a certain number of boxes or something, so you could still get some rewards. I think a lot of people are successfully getting the Champions contract now, but they're not able to complete it because of how difficult it is. Because they added the 30-game wins, which is much easier than a 5-game win streak, but still, it's a lot harder to pull the contract off than it is to actually get the contract. Even for a 5-game win streak is very easy compared to completing the contract. Speaking of that contract, though, you now have more opportunity to get it done. You can now steal the Champions Quest contract from another team that is working on completing it. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but what they note here, if an enemy is on the Champions Quest contract and they are fully eliminated, the Champions Quest tablet will be dropped, and the first team that interacts with the tablet can now steal the contract and continue the quest. So that tells me you're going to be able to continue the progress of where they've already gone on it. You'll see the counter on the left of you need to pick up all 3 of the elements, get them to the bomb site, plant it. I'm still assuming that once all of these things go out of the zone, it's an impossible to complete, then it'll end it all. But theoretically, you can just keep on trying to steal and complete that. I think this is super cool. We've been waiting for this since the game came out 4 seasons ago when they said it was going to be here. Nonetheless, there's another new feature to the game, tac sprint boots. These are found only in those bunkers. They also do not drop upon death. So you will keep this continued even if you die and get bought back, etc. This is a huge benefit then. It also looks like it can only be found in one bunker, but it does note here for some strange reason that it does not reduce fall damage. I don't know why they mentioned that, but it is there. Specialist perk package. This has been in Rebirth now for a bit. And let me tell you, this is the most glorious thing. This is how I got my nuke on Rebirth Island, was purely because of the specialist bonus and focusing on this. You can now get it, but it is going to cost 30 grand, which is going to be a very tall order, especially if you're playing quads. Now, it is doable, but that is a steep cost. And if you die, you do drop specialist bonus. It replaces your perk package. Be careful as well of replacing that perk package if you have it. I did that a couple of times. Bunker busters, which were also limited to Fortune's Keep, are now going to be everywhere, or at least on the big map. I'm very excited for this. I think these are very powerful for area denial, especially in tall buildings. That's really going to have a big end-game impact. And if this is in the World Series of Warzone, which is coming up, we're in for a crazy show. Very crazy show, I think. Utility boxes are also going to be in the game. This was a really cool addition that they had on Rebirth. We saw this even in the past, even in Warzone 2 with the monster boxes where it gives you ammo and armor. Love these. Hot drop loot zones are now going to be available. They took out the guaranteed strongholds in the game, which really was the hot drops and like sent a lot of people together. This is going to be more variable without being as big of a reward. So I'm curious of how big the reward is going to be. Strongholds into black sites were so good. Like that was the hot drop period. It was nice because it was variable versus only going to Superstore 24/7, where it was just always the exact same spot and chaos. Like it didn't have as much replayability. I thought strongholds were a great addition. They took those out. Now they're still there, but black sites aren't worth as much. There's only a chance for those to occur. I'm hoping they can recapture some of that essence with these hot loot zones, especially because they've now decreased the cash that's even coming out of the game, which we'll get into in a second. Runaway Train is also a mode that we saw as a limited time event during Christmas. If you guys remember the Santa's sleigh ride, the zone stayed on the train and followed it along the tracks. You cannot manually control the train during the end game, but there's going to be a 10% chance that the game ends on a train that is moving. This is going to be a crazy one. But yeah, you can't you disable the controls when you're on it. They also added a new vehicle. I think this is going to be kind of like the Hummer. It's the Polaris RZR. This is apparently a real-world vehicle. It's going to have tighter turning, better acceleration, 3-seater, improved fuel economy. You're still going to be very susceptible to getting shot out of this, though, because it doesn't have big doors or anything really blocking you, so you may get sniped. Gas masks also have 3 modes, manual, automatic, and semi-automatic setting now. You can even keybind the gas mask. A lot of people have been wanting this. I just kind of leave it. I would rather just leave it the way it is, but to get rid of the filter that happens on the screen. Buy stations are also going to be improved. Purchasing weapons will now drop behind you. So if you buy your gun, it's not going to be confused and just shuffle of all the loot. There's also now a 2-minute delay on the first zone closing, up from 1. That's to help compensate the 120 players. Gulags no longer have C4, I thought was pretty interesting. Acquisition rate for cash, though, decreased by 50% from supply boxes. The density of ground loot has also been decreased. That being said, overall, there's going to be more supply boxes, more legendary supply boxes. The Gulag token I mentioned, this is going to be a limited inventory at the buy station redeploy packs. There's a low chance you get it from a most wanted contract. That is the only way you can get it. See, they didn't specify it up at the top, but that is it. They're completely out of the floor loot. It's going to make it it's going to change up quite a bit. Also, redeploy flares. These have low chance in legendary, lower chance where support items can spawn, such as medical cabinets as well. So these might still be popping up because there are a lot of medical cabinets and stuff, but we're going to see less of them overall to compensate for more players in the game. Durable gas masks now only spawn in bunker chests and intel contracts. I always got these from the secret stashes around the map. I'm curious if these are just going to be completely gone now. Redeploys, black sites, and most wanted. I guess these also do come from black sites. That would be good if it's guaranteed from black site. That would be a good buff for black sites. I didn't specify it anywhere else here. Foresight comes from the bunker chests, so another buff to those boots that you'll get from the bunkers. You can also get Foresight, which tells you where the game ends. This is like probably the best thing you could ever get. And specialist bonus, this is exclusively, see, it says exclusive here, from buy stations. That's why I figured, it's not in those secret stashes around the map. But maybe those would be a little surprise for us. You even see 30 grand for specialists is what's going to cost. 4K for Gulag token seems like a lot to me. Bunker busters are also going to be 4K. Those are new. Probably those are going to be all limited quantity things, though. For Rebirth Island now, for Resurgence, late game circles will now end in a wider variety of locations. I think they need this for the big map as well. There's so many places the game just never ends that I think would be cool. New weapons. We've got the Superi 46 submachine gun and the Car 98K. Man, I am hoping this is good. They still don't specify anything about headshots and everything. By the time you're watching this, I may have another video up already running the sniper, so stay tuned for that. There's also some new aftermarket parts. The most interesting ones to me was the M4 has a 50 cal conversion kit. What? There's also the inhibitor will change to a 2-round burst sniper rifle. That could make this a one-shot sniper. The RGL also is getting the grenade launcher. Yeah, it's getting a higher velocity and better distance explosion. It's pretty weak overall, this gun, but maybe the conversion kit makes this crazy. Also, the Cast-Off 762, one of the MW2 faves, completely eliminates vertical recoil. That could be a good long-range beamer if it keeps the damage up. The Lockman Shroud submachine gun. So this isn't your classic MP5. This is the Burst MP5. It's now going to have a conversion kit to make it full auto, which could bring this gun back into meta. Renetti also is a single pistol, their burst pistol. They're going to change it into a single shot with the conversion kit. That should be good. Just high level on some of the weapon changes for you guys coming with the initial season. The BP-50 is getting a nerf even to the conversion kit. That's what most people were using, was kind of as like a submachine gun. Bal 27 actually getting a buff, mostly for range, which I liked this gun a lot. I did a couple videos on it. The Holger 556, a lot of people like this gun. It got even more leg multiplier, a little bit more range, very minor tweak on it, but I'm kind of interested in trying that. SVA was a very popular one. That got nerfed down a bit for damage range and multiplier, or mid damage. I don't think it's going to be too crazy of a nerf, but usually the mid range is, and the long range more so, is where people use it. MCW get another slight buff every time. They just keep buffing this thing, trying to make it good and get people to use it. The MTZ 556. You know what I will say? The conversion kit is really good on this. I have a lot of good Raven videos on it. 556 getting a slight buff. 762 getting a slight buff as well. I think these are probably going to be minor, but I think they're nudging them up to see if people will try them again. I think the visual recoil for a lot of these MW2 guns is the bigger problem, but I mean, decent damage increase and multiplier for the Chimera. I always liked this gun in the past. You just move kind of slow relative to some of the other stuff. Decent sniper support, though. I might try that. ISO Hemlock. I'm kind of excited about this, but it's 1 point of damage for the mid and minimum. A little bit of arm multiplier. I feel like this is going to be too minor, but I would love to see the ISO come back into play. Arm 9 got it even bigger, like 2 points damage increase for max damage. Slight max damage range decrease, but I have always liked the AMR. That might be more interesting. The FJX, though, just got like buffed across the board. This was very weak. I just used it in tack stance for crazy movement speed and just, moved in and out, kind of like the Akimbo shotguns I was using for a while. That could be more interesting. Rival 9 as well, small velocity buff. Striker 9, of course, getting nerfed. 2 points of damage off that. Damage range, another meter. Headshot multiplier, a little less reward for the accuracy. Wasp 9 also getting damage range. Decrease mid damage, even multiplier for the lower arms. So DG getting nerfed. A lot of the stuff you would expect. This is most of the headshot multiplier, bullet velocity. I think these are still going to be fairly good. But the buffs is what I'm more interested in. Holger 2.6 as well, slight headshot multiplier change. The big nerf, though, guess what? It's snipers. XRK Stalker. This was a 2 times damage multiplier for the neck, which would mean one-shot headshot to a neck as well as head, is now no longer going to one-tap them. So you got to be even more accurate to get that one-tap. A little less forgiving on the hitboxes. I guess it's not like super major, but, you know, they also keep decreasing the bullet velocity, keep decreasing the aim down sight speed. It's just going to get worse. This is overall now a message to the Battle Royale community for Warzone. They obviously haven't been giving a lot of love to the big map of Urzikstan. We lost Al Mazrah. Of course, we don't have Verdansk. Whereas in Resurgence, they've now got ranked. That's also no longer for big map. They've got 4 or 5 different maps at this point, although they just took Ashika away. Resurgence is getting way more love, and they're kind of addressing that here. Specifically more so for ranked, which of course has just been completely left behind this season. They mentioned, well, we've got the World Series of Warzone coming, which, granted, is very nice. You will be able to compete and play for $1 million in the World Series of Warzone. They're keeping some of the competition alive, but on the day-to-day competition, I know I've seen a lot of people complaining on Twitter, at least, that this is not a thing. So what they're saying is they are targeting a release for a ranked playlist for Big Map by the end of the year, which they're doing something else at the end of this year. Black Ops 6 is coming out. Does that mean that it's going to wait until Black Ops 6? Maybe another new map? Potentially. Nonetheless, still can't compete in World Series of Warzone right now. Pretty short window to play in ranked, kind of competitive environment for that. Ranked play Resurgence is also still going to be a focus. They do reiterate here for seasons to come. They mentioned that they want to keep doing this into the future. It's not going to be the end of ranked play for Resurgence. That's pretty much a season overview. It's nothing crazy, but there's definitely a lot of quality of life updates. And to me, I think the big updates that they're waiting to do are not going to be until Black Ops 6 comes out. Like, realistically, we got Rebirth. I think a lot of people are expecting Verdansk. Some people were even expecting it for Season 4. I was like, what are you guys talking about? But I don't see that coming until the new game. But yeah, that's where we're at. I'm very excited. I think I typically play the big map more. I'm glad to see a lot of these updates. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play. Would love to see the love continue on it. Hopefully, Car 98 is going to be good. If you enjoyed this overview, give it a like. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, following. I'm going to have a lot more videos coming up on Stone Mountain Plays. That's where I update and do all my videos on Warzone for the most part. Sometimes I'll do some on my main channel, Stone Mountain 64, depending on what it is, as well as, a bunch of random games we play over on Beyond with the Fast Crew. It's been a lot of golf lately, but it's been a lot of fun. Anyways, I'll see you in the streams. Facebook, 10 a.m. Pacific every weekday. Bye-bye.